Hello, Bryan. Today
he's
you've
just
been
checking the
killing
mics.
it. I know.
Oh, this
It's
is banter.
banter. Yeah.
This is the fake banter
Yeah.
before the banter.
You've been chatting with a lot of people.
It's been a long day. Yeah.
3 new guests today.
Yeah, very excited about that. I like guests.
Yeah, you like guests. They're good.
I like guests.
They get you going.
And they've been saying that the sound off videos have been doing the best, which I think it's because we're having a conversation. It's a little, people like to listen in on the conversation.
It's very easy for us to speak to one another.
Right. So I think that it works well with the audience. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to kind of get away from the 101 lesson podcasts, because I feel like we have enough of them at this point, in a way.
I think maybe new angles.
Maybe new angles. Yeah.
I shy away from the camera, but I'd be willing to join you on one of them and talk about like my perspective on it too, like as somebody who has teams in the Philippines. Welcome to the CEO Sound Off. I'm Vicky Francois. This is Bryan Luoma. And today we're going to talk about trending topics in the news. So Bryan, how are you today?
I'm excellent. Weather's beautiful today. Yes. The weather's actually turning. It's gorgeous. Summer's here.
Consistent.
I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, it's amazing. So in the news, in the headlines, straight from the Wall Street Journal, North Korea infiltrates U.S. remote jobs with help of everyday Americans. What are your thoughts on this?
I don't know if you saw this story. It's crazy. Wall Street Journal had this article about apparently North Korea has been getting all of these remote jobs from U.S. companies pretending that they're
applicants?
I guess Americans. I'm not sure if they're pretending they're Americans or if they're just certainly not North Koreans. Right. And they had helpers in the U.S. that unwittingly were like setting up Zoom calls and laptops with VPNs. And the story they talk about in the article about this one lady it sounded like dozens of North Koreans that she was facilitating them working remotely in the US. And these were apparently like major corporations. And I just think, and I've heard stuff like this before, just from you hiring somebody on Upwork, and most of these were like either Upwork or LinkedIn or whatever. And you hire somebody on there and you don't know who you're hiring really. Right. You can try and do due diligence, but you know, and these were major corporations that got tricked to hiring, people in North Korea, and you don't know like if it was, obviously you're paying them, so that's a big part of it, but also like, what kind of security breaches might have happened and stuff like that. And so I'm always cautious about what or how we're treating our employees and the relationship with the clients and what we do as far as ID verification and sometimes even background checks and credit checks and criminal checks, all that stuff. Not to mention personality exams and everything else, and Zoom interviews. And so we're really doing everything to protect against that. And to hear, not only is it something as simple as, oh, this person is pretending to be somebody else and they got a job. It's like a crazy story about this communist country infiltrating U.S. corporations at this huge scale and millions of dollars and wow, just a wild story. And I think a lesson for people that are potentially, that are looking to hire offshore, that, maybe you maybe you don't want to just hire some stranger off Upwork or
It's
or
dangerous.
yeah, it is. You know, it's yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's frightening. I think one of the things you talked about a lot of the formal ways that we go about it, but there's also the informal because we have a Christmas party, we have,
Yeah.
summer events. We're able to see the workforce, even
Right.
if they don't necessarily work in office, they work from home. We're able to verify that, okay, you're a real person and our client's data is safe at all times.
Yeah, it's when clients ask me about security and data and stuff like that, and I tell them it's a 3-part process. It's
Right.
hiring smart, and then having the legal framework in there, and then being diligent about the oversight of that data. And we try and do a great job on all those phases. But it's just crazy to think that these in the story it talks about major corporations
Yeah, who are
that
vulnerable.
were not diligent in those ways. So it's a lesson to be learned for sure.
And it's interesting that you mentioned the legal ramifications of it all because the law is not as universal as you would think, right? Something that's legal here in the US may be illegal overseas. And so having the right law like background or the right lawyers within the country is
Yeah, I mean,
so
obviously we have a Filipino legal team that's doing all of our legal agreements and making sure that not only the employees are doing everything they're supposed to be doing, but making sure Tachi is doing everything that are supposed to be doing as far as taxes and licenses and permits and all of that stuff. And so, Tachi has been in business for 13 years now. Plan on being in business for another 30 years or more, hopefully more. And you're not going to have that kind of longevity if you're cutting corners, if you're not being diligent about these things. So it's wild.
it's wild.
It's a wild story.
Next thing, PwC has laid off 1,500 U.S. employees in a reduction of about 2% of the national workforce, citing that the law of attraction and its need to rebalance staffing due to market shifts. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's a weird time because you hear these huge stories about layoffs, especially in the tech sector, but elsewhere as well. But at the same time, you look at the unemployment numbers, and it's still at 4.1% or something like that. And which is historically, considered full employment for the most part.
Right.
So I think while we see these big headlines, the truth of the matter is it's still hard for companies to find the right employees, and that's why they're coming to Tache, and just looking for offshore teams in general. But I think that it's also companies went through the pain of 2022 and 2023 where it was very difficult to find employees. And so even if they're having, if we're not in a recession, but maybe just in a slowdown, they're very hesitant to give up good quality employees. And so there's less movement. I think that the JOLTS report on job openings indicated that there's still not a lot of movement from employees quitting their jobs and stuff like that. And so I think that it's kind of a stale situation. People, we've been hearing it for a while now. There's a lot of uncertainty out there. Right. So employees aren't leaving, and employers aren't really cutting their staff either. So I think that the job market is still very tight. We've been seeing it in our clients, and their desire to ramp up their teams in the Philippines because they're having trouble finding the staff in the U.S. and what you hear from immigration and the reduction of legal immigrants even, that's not going to help the the number of people in the labor forces either.
Right.
So I think there's going to continue to be pressure on U.S. companies and finding quality employees.
I think it's interesting that you brought up immigration, because I think that as some people are looking towards like what comes next for their future, or a lot of business owners are looking like, my workforce is primarily immigrants, or whether that's legal or illegal immigrants. So they're looking ahead, and I think that it's always good to let them know that your business can remain sustainable if you consider a company like ours, Tache, that can help you balance and have people working.
Yeah, and every business owner needs to be thinking about how can they most efficiently have the staff they need to most efficiently provide the services that they need to provide for, or want to provide for, their clients. There's nothing worse than having work available but not having the staff to be able to do the work, and finding the right mix of local on the ground employees and overseas staff is really just smart business. And as if immigration continues to get tightened down, it's just going to make it harder and harder to have that staff locally. And then you got to think about what's the global solution.
And I think that challenging times allow for you to grow in your business model as well, because even if this is just a temporary solution, it can become a long-term fix.
Well, it's anytime there's a challenge, I like to see that as an opportunity. And, maybe it's the entrepreneur in me, but what I'm thinking is if it's harder and harder to find staff, that's happening with your competition as well. And so if you're the business owner that's able to figure out how to find the right staff overseas and train them and get them ramped up so that they can provide those services for your clients, well, now you've raised the bar and you're overcoming challenges that potentially your competitors are not, and you're going to have an advantage in the market. So I personally, I like challenges like that, and even like starting Tache in the Philippines, it's difficult. There's the permitting process, the banking system, legal stuff. It's really difficult. And now that I've gone through it, I love it. I see that as an advantage, as a barrier to entry for competition from what Tache's gone through all that process of doing. So that it's the same thing with companies in the US. If everyone's having trouble finding the right employees and you figure out how to do it, well, now you've got an advantage in the marketplace. And to me, I like challenges because that gives me an opportunity to solve that challenge and have an advantage. If it's all smooth sailing, well, then,
it's kind of boring.
It's boring. And then how am I going to find an advantage?
Right. Agreed. Well, thank you, Bryan. I really enjoyed your insight on these 3 topics. And audience, we look forward to engaging with you in the comments. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know if offshoring is something that would be interesting to you. Let us know if you're currently feeling any of the new laws that are going here in the U.S., if they're impacting your business. We'd love to have a conversation with you. So like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.